Alright, in this episode of Restoring Christine, we finished our front wheel well hubs. Got them ready for paint, had some holes that we plug welded, got some last minute dings out of it, cleaned them up, sanded them, primed them, prepped them. They are ready to be shot with paint now. If you're interested in seeing how we got this done this weekend, stay tuned. Good morning, Deuce. Been a while since you've been in an episode. That's a good boy. Hey, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Restoring Christine. My name is Bill. It's 56 Bel Air behind me. Her name's Christine. This channel is Restoring Christine. This is the video blog that I'm documenting this build in my garage. A restoration of the 1956 Bel Air with my own hands in my own garage by myself. About a year and a half project, and we're well on our way. We're getting close to where we're starting to do body work on this. We got all the rust repaired. We've got, we're working on details now. We're getting close to where we can throw down some body fill. We're getting close to where we're going to start throwing down some color. And I know last week I teased you guys and said that maybe this week was going to be the start of that. But I think we're going to have one more week where I'm going to have to do some prep work because I don't want to get ahead of myself. So today we're working on the we're going to work on the inner fender wells. I was working on those last week, and let me show you what I did last week real quick. So last week I had the two skirts, and I had to repair some rust that was missing. I had to fabricate a piece that goes in the corner. I had to do that on both sides. I had to do it on this one as well. And I had to straighten out, there was some tears on some of the things. There was a missing bracket. There was some tears in some of the bolt holes. So I repaired all that. There's some dents and dings in here that I got mostly out. I still need to work those a little bit. One of the things that I'm aware of here with this is that there's a ton of bolt holes, screw holes. Some of these are factory bolt holes, some of them are not. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and close up everything that I know I'm not going to reuse, and we can reestablish anything else that we need to when we put it all together. But I went ahead and I looked in my shop manual, and the only thing I can find is that in the shop manual that there's some screw holes here that are from the factory that mounted like a headlight relay and a horn relay. That's the only thing I can find. Everything else is kind of like, I really don't know what the heck it goes to. So I'm going to close most of these up. Some of these are like, I know that's on a Boss, so that's probably original. This is on a Boss, so that was also holding something else original. I'm not quite sure what that was. But a lot of these is, man, I just can't imagine I'm going to bolt anything to them. So I'm going to weld all those up. What else are we going to do? We're going to get this thing cleaned up on the back side. Turn around so you can see it. So when Christine went back to the blaster, that was episode number 2, they were able to blast all of the outer parts of the body. And then since I had the motor out, they were able to get underneath the engine bay, and they blasted the outer or the exposed sides. How can I phrase that? The sides of the inner fenders that were facing the motor. So they were able to get to those, and where the tires were, they were not able to get to this. So this is something that is, I need to clean up. I need to get all this 60 years plus of road grime, 70 years, whatever it is, get that off, get these cleaned up, get these straightened out. I'm going to get these hopefully cleaned, welded, straightened, primed, and ready to paint. But we're not going to paint them today. We'll probably prime them today, hopefully, if that's how far I get. So let's get into it. All right, I just spent about 30 minutes beating and banging and trying to get some more dents out of this thing. And I also went inside and I looked at 20-year-old, 15-year-old classic Chevy and Chevy Classic magazines that Eckler's used to publish. They don't publish them anymore. I think the internet completely displaced all that printed media. But I went looking, I can't find anything that bolts to these fender wells. So I'm just going to close up the majority of these holes, and then if I need any of them, I'll drill me some new ones. But let me show you what I'm doing. So I just spent, like I said, a few minutes with the hammer and dolly and worked this a little bit better. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the grinder. I'm going to hit all these holes. I knocked them down. If they were like pulled up from like the threads going in and pulling tight, they kind of warped the metal a little bit, so I beat those down a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and grind off the primer in those areas, and I'm going to go ahead and hit these with the welding machine. I'm going to use a copper backing bar on the back of each one of these big holes, and then hit it and try to control how much heat and weld I'm putting into it. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to patch all these holes. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. So let's get that done. So one thing I don't think I've ever really pointed out as I've been doing any of this welding, well, if you go through these little consumable tips, these are little copper ferrules that sleeves that the wire comes through, and these are gauge specific. So this is a .023 gauge ferrule or tip, and the wire fits snugly on this. So when it all gets hot, this has a tendency sometime, if you get too close to the heat, and the wire will melt back, and it'll melt back into it or right at the edge of the tip, and then it stops. It won't feed. So you have to stop, take it apart, cut it out, throw this away, get a new tip, screw a new tip in. So a lot of what a lot of time is spent doing this, and it's just every now and then, but it's part of it, and it's something that I don't think I've ever talked about in any of the videos that I've ever done. So this is something that it just slows you down, takes time, but you got to do it. And so there it is. I've changed the tip, put it tight, put the collar back on. Now I'm good to go. I'm going to clip that tip down to about 1/4 of an inch and weld, and away we go. Alright, finished the first one. Looks pretty good. Got all of those holes out of them. So this needs to just be smoothed down. Hit it with a palm sander or something and see what it looks like. And then I've got to do the other one the same way. I probably won't video that one because it's the same boring stuff. But you know, just want to show you guys what we're doing. So let me continue working with this, but it's coming along nicely. I got 120 grit on here, and even though I've got primer already on it, this is pretty rough. So I'm gonna hit it with 120 first, and it's all it's the inner fender well. It just needs moderate body work. It doesn't need, like, you know, the showroom finish. So let me hit it with this and see what it does. All right, that's just one pass with 120. Just enough to get it smoothed out before I put my next coat of primer on it, because what I wanted to do is I'm gonna put some epoxy primer back on it, and I wanted to see how all this was coming out to see if I needed to do any more beating and banging or dent on these dents. And this came out pretty good. This isn't horrible. I'm gonna maybe work that a little bit more. Maybe this area a little bit. But overall, it looks pretty good. You know, the bulkhead's going to be right here. You know, I don't know how much of this is visible. I don't remember. but I'm going to end up putting a little bit of body filler on this just to fill in these little divots and dimples. You can't get the welds just perfect, but I'll do that. And I still need to take care of the backside. So that's where I'm at. I started to use this El Cheapo Warrior Harbor Freight polycarbide abrasive wheel to strip this. And I took off a couple of inches, just a little bit, just enough to get my face black and say, no, I don't want to do that. So I went into my supplies, and then when I did the Cutlass a bunch of years ago, I had this Jasco stripper that I used on the hood. And I said, well, all right, well, I've got more than half a quart left, so let me try that. So I went ahead and put that on it, and it's soaking down. I'm going to strip all this black paint off of it, and we'll get it cleaned up, and that'll be that. See, it works pretty good. It's been soaking for a few minutes, and it doesn't take much to get it off. And this is cruddy paint, you know. This paint wasn't put on very well. It wasn't primed very well. So we just want to get this cleaned up. I'm going to get this cleaned up, sanded, primed, and then put a nice coat of black paint on it. And I'm going to use an Emeron epoxy. It's durable, it's rugged. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. Probably take a wire brush to it, and that'll get us in business. So let's keep on going. So let me show you what it does with the wire brush. And it comes off really nicely. So you get this stripped, get all the bulk of it off, and then clean it up. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll probably hit it with that polycarbide wheel after I get this off, and that'll get it the rest of the way. All right, look at that. So that was with stripper, a wire brush by hand, and then I took the polycarbide disc and then knocked off the rough stuff, and then after I got that, I wiped it with a little rag, and then took a flap disc that was half worn out, and I went ahead and just scuffed the whole thing. So it looks really good. You know, I mean, a face only a mother could love. Or a daddy. I don't know how dirty I am, but this stuff was flying everywhere. Anyway, so I'm gonna get this wiped down with lacquer thinner. And then I might go ahead and mix up some epoxy and shoot it. I don't know. We'll see. Stick with me. All right, so let me give you a little bit of inside info on my routine. So I usually come out in the garage on a Saturday morning. Usually lazy with my morning. I get out here later than I always intend to. But then I start working, and what I'll do is I'll record, and then when I go inside for lunch, I download everything off of my phone. I'm only using a regular Android phone. I don't have a mic. I don't have a selfie stick. I have my arm. But what I do is I'll go in and on a Saturday, and I'll work the morning until I get hungry or thirsty or something, and I'll go inside and take about a 45-minute break or so. And what I'll do is I'll download all the pictures off my phone onto my computer, and as I'm eating, I'll start editing the video. So that's how I kind of know to pace myself and how long each video is going to be. So anyway, so now I've done that. I went inside and I edited the first part of this video, and now I'm getting back after it, but I'm on the second Fender well, and it's coming out nice. So right now, since I've already done one, I know how much of this stripper, how far it's going to go. So I was a little more heavy-handed with it on this second Fender, and it's doing a lot better. So you can see, you can definitely see, I mean, it is definitely, you know, stripping, it's stripping the paint. Everything's coming off. Before, the other one I had to grind or sand or scuff some more off, but that is down to, you know, you can see it. That's down to primer, and you know, I'd venture to say some of it is bare metal. So I'm going to continue working this, and then finish. I'll strip the two skirts, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to shoot some primer. I don't have enough room in my garage. I got too much of a mess going on in here. So let me go ahead and get this done, and we'll see you soon. There it is. So that's after stripper, scraping it down, wire brushing it by hand, wiping it down, hitting it with the disc grinder with the polycarbonate paint stripper, and then a flap disc, just a grit, sand grit, and that's what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning this up, get those two skirts cleaned up, and then we're going to go ahead and shoot primer. This is the primer system I'm using. This is a metal etching primer, so this is not my bodywork primer. This is just for when you encounter bare metal. This I have left over from when I coated Christine after she came back from the sandblasters and everything was bare metal. So this is an Exalta Topcoat 3.0 PR 5240 and then the Activator 5280. And this is a 5-to-1 mix. It's a gallon, quart. It's an epoxy. It's an etching epoxy. It's not meant to be a high build or a sand primer. So, but this is going to be the first coat that I'm going to put on the fender and the skirts and everything, and we'll get that together. So I'm mixing it in a cup, 5-to-1. I haven't yet blended it yet. I'm using my good gun. It's the only gun that I have. This is an Eastwood Concourse gun. I've used this one a bunch. I like it a lot. It's definitely worth the money. I bought it along with, it came in a kit with a detail gun and a number of other different things, so I've gotten a lot of good use out of it. I like it a lot. We'll go over this in much greater detail when I paint the car, but I wanted to just touch on that while we were doing this. So let me get finished setting up, and then we'll go ahead and shoot some primer. All right, so I'm going to shoot these in my driveway. Blower spray is not too bad. I've done this before. It doesn't go everywhere, so as long as I've got a drop cloth down, keep my concrete clean, I'm good. So I've got my compressor. I'm going to shoot this, I think at about 40 psi, something like that, 40, 45. And that's about it. I mean, I don't know, it's primer, you know, so we don't have to worry about dialing in the gun too much, but this is what I'm going to paint. So here we go. All right, I got it done. It's a full day. I'm tired and I'm very dirty, but we got them primed and they look great. So let me show them to you. What do you think? I mean, it really came out nice. You know, this really illustrates the point about painting. When you're doing auto painting, it's all in the prep. Preparation, preparation, preparation. You can't skip these steps. You can't shortcut these steps. This is not like painting a house. You paint a house, you can just throw paint on top of it. And I know prep matters there, but it really matters with auto body work. Now, some of the things that I can see that if you look really, really, really closely, you can kind of see where the weld is. Where the weld is there, that's where I patched those holes. So if I really wanted to be a stickler, and I probably will, I'm gonna sand this down and I'm gonna do a little bit of body work. Now, this was the front that was crushed, and that doesn't look too bad. By the time the bulkhead gets here, and then the fender comes around, and then the horn and everything else that goes behind the hood, behind the grill, by the time all that comes through, you won't see much of this. So I might touch this up with a little bit of body filler, but I don't know. These skirts, you'll never see these. I think these look great. So, got my gun cleaned, and the kitty cat, Jasmine, she's over there just chilling. But that's gonna do it. Another episode in the books. We got them prepped. They're ready for paint. Might do a little bit of more prep work, but they're pretty close. They're very, very close. So, all right. So next episode probably won't be on Christine. So I'm gonna start a little side, some side episodes that are gonna probably call something like the Cutlass Chronicles. I don't know, but I've got the 71 Cutlass. Cruising the Coast is coming up in a few weeks. Cruising the Coast is always the first week of October. So we need to get the Cutlass ready to go to Mississippi Gulf Coast. And last year I had a transmission problem, and I decided not to take a chance with it, so I'm going to change out the transmission. I have one that's on the way. I'm supposed to take delivery of it this coming week, so it might mean that next weekend we might be turning wrenches on that 71 Cutlass. So I'm going to pump the brakes on Christine just to get the Cutlass ready for Cruising the Coast, and then we'll see where we go. So that's probably where we're going to be next weekend, but we'll see. Anyway, tell you what, I really appreciate everybody that watched my channel. If you're liking the videos, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're liking the channel, a subscription would be outstanding. So until next time, take care of yourself.